Attention, gather around. We're going to start. Are you guys all good? All right, so good afternoon. I'm Mike Kelly. I'm the General Superintendent and CEO of the Chicago Park District, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the indoor track and field here at Gately Park. Before I continue, I want to acknowledge some people who are with us today. Of course, first and foremost is our Mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Looks like where'd you go? 8th Ward Alderwoman and Council Chair, Michelle Harris. President and co-CEO of Aerial Investments and After School Matters Board President, Melody Hopson. Chicago Park District Board President, Avis Lavelle. After School Matters CEO, Mary Ellen Karen. And Business Pioneer, After School Matters Board Member, and local track legend, Elsie Higginbottom. Just a few more housekeeping. Some other folks that are with us. State Representative Nicholas Smith, State Representative Marcus Evans, representing Congresswoman Robin Kelly, April Williams Lester, Evelyn Rodriguez from the Exelon Foundation, the Gately Park Advisory Council, the Friends of Track and Field, Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Area Runners Association, Williams Architects, McHugh Construction, Mondo Kiefer USA, Upland Design, and ASM Global. So now, how about a big round of applause for everyone? It goes without saying, but I think you'd all agree with me, this facility is absolutely magnificent. And I would say it is a game changer for the development of track and athletes in Chicago. So let me give you a quick rundown of the features and the amenity. This is the first publicly owned facility dedicated to track and field in the city of Chicago in our history. You might want to hold your applause at the end. I got about 10 of these. So it's just shy of 140,000 square feet. It is the only hydraulically banked track in the state of Illinois, and it may be just the fastest indoor track in the United States of America right now. It has a 4,000 square foot warm-up area, 8 sprinting lanes, 2 long and 2 triple jump runways, 2 pole vault runways. It has a high jump area, a throws cage. And outside of track and field, it also has 4 volleyball courts and 6 basketball courts within the track and field. There's a fitness center, a multi-purpose rooms, a meet management control room, concessions, and locker rooms. And all of that said, I didn't even describe anything in our neighboring partner's unbelievable facility at After School Matters. More on that in a minute. But for generations, our student track athletes were only able to run outdoors a few months of the year. Essentially, our track athletes were training in the hallways of their schools. And you know, that was probably okay in 1930, 1940, but it's not okay today, and we had to get with the times. The bottom line is this impacted their athletic development and their life trajectory for the opportunity of track and field. And I can tell you, I met with numerous track coaches from across the country, and they were telling me they don't even recruit Chicago anymore. And that didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with a lot of the people in this room. So we had to do something about it. The bottom line is this facility is an investment in our young people, and it's something I know everyone in this room believes in. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge one of the biggest advocates of these young aspiring athletes and influences in getting the program off this ground. It was our dear friend, Dr. Conrad Worrell. And how about a round of applause for Dr. Worrell and his family. I do want to recognize and thank Conrad's daughters. Dr. Femi Skanes is with us. His daughter, Sabina Worrell, his grandson, Cobble Spearman Jr., and his brother, Oscar Worrell, are all joining us here today. So development in our neighborhoods, particularly those most in need, makes our entire city better. And just looking around at this facility, the Pullman community in Chicago, today we have reason to celebrate. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Lightfoot, who is committed to bringing even more investment like this to Chicago's South and West Side communities. Thank you. Mayor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, last time I heard I was on the South Side. And I know you all can do a little better than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. Before I begin my formal remarks, I want to take a moment to address the violence that continues to plague Chicago and other major cities across the country. And I want to specifically speak to the victims and survivors. I want you to know that we are doing absolutely everything that we can to stem the violence. I've met with many of you, and I've heard your pain and anguish. And I carry that with me, and your suffering feels my daily urgency to use every tool that I have and to urge every stakeholder, from the President of the United States on down, to local, county, and state and federal officials. We must do better, all of us, for you. I know that sometimes in the press coverage and the daily conversations, the experience, your experience as victims and survivors, and your pain is too often ignored. I promise you that I see you, that I hear you, and that I feel you. You will never be lost to me. There is more that we can do and must do for victims, witnesses, and survivors. And I'll be making a specific announcement on that in the coming days. But I wanted to take this opportunity to make sure that as we're talking about an important issue of our time, that we not forget the victims, the survivors, and the witnesses. And let me say this to the general population. Residents of Chicago, we must rally around our neighbors who are living in areas of our city that are under siege by violence. We can't ignore them. We can't forget them. We can't just think, ever for the grace of God go I. We all have a responsibility, all of us. Not just a mayor, not just a police department, all of us have a responsibility. And in particular, we must hold our neighbors in our hearts, our minds, and our prayers. But I'm also believe that we have to do more. We must continue to urge our young people to put down the guns. We have to love them. And tonight and today is about love. It's about making specific investments in our young people, to show them that we care, to give them real opportunities. But I'm also old school and believe what my mother taught me, which is we love them, but we also must hold them accountable. And we must also show them the way to a different kind of life by setting the example, by giving them real opportunities that they can grasp in their hand and choose to take a different path. Love and support and accountability. That's what we must be about when we think about our young people in the city. We're living through a very difficult time. There's no question about it. But there's also joy and happiness that's here as well, and we can't forget about that. So with that, I want to shift to the reason that we're all here, which is to mark two important investments in our city, present and future, and in particular, our young people. And that's this world-class Gately track and field site and a new state-of-the-art facility for after-school matters. Superintendent Kelly thanked the legion of people who are here, and I would just say we have to all be all in on everything that we do, particularly around support to our young people. I want to thank my colleagues in the state legislature. I want to thank Michelle Harris and the other aldermanic support. I want to thank LJ Higginbotham and all the private sector folks who really made this moment possible. I have to, of course, thank, you can clap for that. I have to thank two fearless leaders in our city who never rest when it comes to making sure that our young people have real, meaningful, positive opportunities, and that's Melody Hopson and Mary Ellen Karen of After School Matters. Now, throughout this past year, Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Park District, and our many sister agency and community partners like After School Matters have worked diligently to ensure our students remain connected to high-quality educational and recreational programming, even when it meant shifting to fully remote. We didn't walk away from our young people. Now, this was a difficult challenge, but one I think that we've succeeded in. At every step of the way, our in-school and out-of-school opportunity ecosystem rose to meet the moment by quickly pivoting and adapting to new ways of teaching and learning, helping us fulfill our mission of nurturing our young people's physical, emotional, and educational well-being. Now that summer is here, we've been charged with another important mission: to continue nurturing their development by giving them the resources that they need to learn how to be leaders, re-engage with their peers, and explore their passions and skills. Resources not unlike the ones we're gathered here today to reveal. As a track fan extraordinaire, I can't be more pleased to be here to cut the ribbon on Gately's new indoor track and field and After School Matters space, our city's newest outlet dedicated to keeping our young people active, safe, and engaged. This building also serves as our city's first and only, as Mike said, indoor public facility dedicated to track and field. It is importantly located within our historic Pullman neighborhood, which stands to benefit from investments like these now more than ever. This nearly 140,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility is, in short, absolutely inspiring, an aspiring athlete's paradise. It features a 4,000 square foot warm-up area, 8 sprint lanes, 4 basketball and volleyball courts, and runways for long jump, triple jump, and pole vaulting. This is no place like this in the city of Chicago, and I dare say, outside of a college campus, no place like this in the Midwest. In addition, this facility is also fully outfitted with a fitness center, locker rooms, kitchens, and concessions and multi-purpose room. With a seating space of 3,500, this space will put Chicago on par with New York City and Boston when it comes to hosting championship events. And let me say this, as the first time I walked in here, after I picked up my job from marbling at this incredible facility, we got to work. And we are actively in discussions to bring major track events to this facility. This should be the mecca for track, not only in the Midwest, but across the country. And I hope you'll hear a little bit more about Chicago's history from Elsie. But let me just tell you, this city has been producing incredible track stars that have gone on to be successful for decades, and we must nurture the next generation. I don't ever want to hear again that nobody comes to Chicago to look for track talent, because we have it in abundance, and we're going to make sure that that talent is now known on a national scale, because Chicago is one of the track meccas of the United States. And I also am particularly excited about this facility will also serve as After School Matters' third dedicated space in our city, in addition to the downtown location and the Lutz facility on the northwest side. We just took a moment to go through the facility, which is welcoming its first set of students today. And let me just share with you a little bit about what is in store for those students in that facility. It's 2 floors, and it will allow our teens to explore their interests and develop talents in a safe and supportive environment, complete with an art and dance studio. And folks, if you haven't seen that dance studio, you are missing out, because it is an envy. The Joffrey Ballet would like to have a facility this great. It is beautiful. Music and recording rooms, a full professional culinary kitchen, tech labs with 3D printers, and a rooftop garden. At full capacity, 1,500 teens will be able to take advantage of this impressive host of resources. Taken together, the Gately Indoor Track and Field and teen-centric After School Matters space will provide countless opportunities for our youth to get active and get involved this summer. and it builds on other major initiatives launched under my administration. This builds on My Shy, My Future, and I've got to single out my wife, the First Lady of the city, who has been a fearless champion for young people in their after-school time for decades now, and is helping lead the My Shy, My Future. I'll call it a movement. Through My Shy, My Future, we've made direct investments in communities to resource anchor organizations, including Phalanx Family Services in nearby Roseland. These organizations can help organize and drive efforts at a hyper-local level to support and connect young people with meaningful experiences. In addition to My Shy, My Future, the Gately Park facility and after-school matter space also builds off another key city program, and it's one of my favorites and I think a game changer for investments, and that's Invest Southwest. Invest Southwest, as you know, leverages public-private partnerships to enhance the economic vibrancy of 10 of our most historically underserved communities on the south and the west sides, including Pullman, where we are right now. To date, Invest Southwest has invested more than $70 million in public resources into 10 commercial cores of these communities, and has mobilized more than $300 million in private and philanthropic dollars. Melody, you know a little bit about finances. I think it's a pretty good return on investment. Folks, this facility will truly be a game changer for the Pullman community, which is one of our most historically disinvested neighborhoods. Alderman Harris and I have been talking since we walked in the door together. We must make sure that it's not a one-and-done investment. This investment has to be catalytic. We've got to drive additional resources here to make sure that this community is vibrant and thriving for years to come. When we create these investments, when we bring other investments to the table, we help create jobs, but also we create hope in neighborhoods that need it most. You've heard me say this before, but when I was a young person and I saw that there was an investment made in my community that was for me, I felt like I was special. I felt like I mattered and that somebody saw me. Every single child that walks through the after-school matters side or Gately needs to have that same feeling. And one of the things that we learned today is many of the young people that are involved in the programming here actually live in this neighborhood or nearby. But they were going all the way downtown because there weren't other options for them. But now there are, and more to come. We must be here for our young people who have gone through incredible burdens before COVID, but even with COVID, those burdens have increased exponentially. If we want to talk about violence reduction, we want to talk about public safety, where we must be every single day is investing in our young people to carve a different path for them. If they see that their life is something bigger than the moment that they're in, that their destiny is not preordained to be an early death or jail or minding someone's corner spot, if they see that we see them and that we love and support them, we absolutely can stem the tide of the violence that has plagued way too many communities for way too long. So while this obviously is a moment of reflection and a moment of concern that we must have for our neighbors, this is also a moment where we have to celebrate the investments that we're making in communities and young people and families. There's a lot going on in our city. These are difficult and challenging times, but we can't lose sight of the hope and the inspiration that drives so many people that are out there on the front lines every single day. Whether it's our police, whether it's our violence interrupters, whether it's members of the faith community and community-based organizations that are out there in neighborhoods doing the Lord's work every single day, whether it's our young people who are also inspiring themselves and their peers to do better, bigger and better things. We have to be here for them, not lose sight of them, and particularly never lose sight of the victims and survivors who need us now in this time of need. So with that, I'll turn it over to Melody Hopson to say a few words. Melody.
Thank you so much, Mayor Lightfoot. I always learn so much from you. I have so much gratitude and appreciation for all the passion you have for our city and for our young people. And every time I listen to you, I feel like I could be doing more. So thank you, thank you, thank you for inspiring me and so many other people to really step up, because that's what our city needs. A lot of you may see that there's a lot of purple with After School Matters. Purple is our color. We wear purple. Our teens wear the purple shirts. Purple is an incredibly appropriate color for After School Matters because it symbolizes two things. First, imagination, which I think is incredibly appropriate given the hundreds of programs we literally have for teens, for them to explore and hopefully to really whet their imagination and their desire to learn and do new things in ways that they never could have dreamed of. So imagination is perfect as a reflection or a symbol of the color purple. The color purple also stands and is associated with royalty, which I think is super interesting and again, very, very appropriate. Because in America, I think we have royalty. People may not know that, but I do believe that we have royalty, and our royalty comes in two versions. I think our elders are our royalty. They are our kings and our queens. They are the ones who got us here. And I think our young people are our royalty. They're our princes and princesses, and they're the ones who are going to take us where we're going. So it's perfectly appropriate in so many ways to me that our After School Matters teens wear purple, imagination and royalty. And that royalty is what is walking into this building, this stunning, phenomenal facility, so that this royalty can grow and learn and ultimately help build the society that we all want to live in. This building is going to educate generations of royalty. That's the thing so amazing about it. Thousands and thousands and thousands of teens will ultimately come here, not just to run, but to learn new things, to grow, from cooking to horticulture to dance. They will do that all in this facility. Chicago has made this investment. Lots of individuals have made this investment. Mary Ellen will talk about that because it is deserved. It is the right thing to do. This building, as you will hear about, is the result of a vision of two people. One, of course, who is not with us, and we're all sad that he's not here, but he did get to see this building as it was being built, Dr. Conrad Worrell. And then, of course, my very, very good friend, Elsie Higginbottom, who talked to me about the inequity that existed in track and field in Chicago. And when he said they run in the hallways, he had me at hello. I was like, this is just not right, and it makes us less competitive. And then when there was this idea, which I said, okay, we could build this building, but we could also make this facility so much more valuable to the community by bringing After School Matters to the community. We realized that we had something really, really special and something really great. So to me, Dr. Worrell and Elsie were the dreamers. They had the vision. We were the builders that helped facilitate this, along with the City of Chicago and the Park District and so many great donors and supporters. But at the end of the day, when we all came together, you know, vision is a team sport, we all decided that if we were going to build it, not only would they come, they would run here because it was going to be world class. I said that over and over and over again. It must be world class. We must do something that has never been done before. Why? Because they deserve it. They are supposed to have buildings like this. These teens are supposed to have this in their communities. This is not supposed to be an exception. It's not supposed to be a jewel. It's just supposed to be. And when they walk in here, they're supposed to feel like this is what they deserve, and this is where they belong. And by making something this spectacular, they're going to want to take care of it and be a part of it. And so that's why we said, go all in on this building and really make sure it stands out as a symbol of what belongs in every community in the city of Chicago and in this country. So now, This dream is a reality, which is incredibly gratifying. I got choked up just walking into the building. And it's not because it's here, but it's what it will be. All I can think about is how many dreams will be not only fulfilled, maybe it'll be track meets and competitions and unbelievable dishes that are cooked in the kitchen, but it'll also be the dreams and the vision that will be created in this building that will fuel Chicago, fuel those families, those individuals, this country, this world for generations to come. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Mayor, for being a warrior for young people. Thank you, Amy, for being on our board and being my friend since the library, so many years, 30 plus. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mary Ellen Caron, who, it's one thing to say we're going to do it, it's another thing to make it happen, and that's what she did with the Chicago Park District and so many other sponsors. So, Mary Ellen Caron.
Thank you, Melody. We all know that without you, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you for all of your support for so many things, but today for this building. Mayor and Amy, I can't thank you enough. As someone who works on behalf of children, you're there all the time. I've never asked, I know many who have never asked that you're not there on behalf of the children and youth of Chicago. And everyone needs to know just how supportive you are. Thank you. So I am thrilled to be here today. My Chicago accent is showing up, right? I'm thrilled for the Pullman and the Roseland communities. I'm thrilled for the Park District. I'm thrilled for the city of Chicago. And I'm thrilled for After School Matters. Many dreams will be realized in this beautiful place. I want to just thank so many generous people who helped make this happen. The Hopson Lucas Family Foundation, the Crown family, the Fifth Third Foundation, our dear friend Lisa Wardell, who's here with her daughter Grace, and the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation. This beautiful building was made possible by our supporters and a lot of hard work. Now let me tell you about the hard work. When we came together, we all had a different dream. And Melody talked about the vision. And I'll tell you, we worked hard on making the dream come true to today. And some of those who worked are certainly the After School Matters staff and the Park District staff. But it's also a thanks to McHugh Construction, the BOA Group, Eckenhoff Saunders Architects, Williams Architects, and Mondo Worldwide. If you can imagine a more disparate group of humans to go around a table and create this, that's what we had. But that's what we have today. We have this cutting-edge track and field house and an incredible state-of-the-art, world-class, teen-centric space for Pullman and Roseland and anyone else who wants to take the bus here, right, Alderman? After School Matters is celebrating 30 years right now this year. We've had 350,000 participants in those 30 years. And we have the downtown area, the downtown building and a tent in Millennium Park. We have the Lutz Center, and today on the south side of Chicago, we have the Gately Center. So thank you to anybody who made that happen. And when you stand in an edifice like this, you always know that you stand on those who came before. And so I, again, like everyone else, want to mention Dr. Worrell, who I met for the first time in this building, and he gave me a good lesson, along with Elsie Higginbottom, who worked tirelessly to make this happen. This building tells the neighborhood and the teens that they matter for what they do today, and they matter in the future. So I just again want to thank everyone for what they have done to make this happen. It is an incredible day for all of us. And now it's my pleasure to introduce someone I've admired for a very long time. First of all, I met Avis when she was in the mayor's office with Mayor Daley, and she was, she was the light that would tell us all what to do and where to go. Later, she and Michael Scott, another one that we stand on his shoulders, led CPS board with such respect and dignity. It was just amazing. All the while, she has been on the After School Matters board from the beginning, helping Maggie Daly make what After School Matters is today. And now, she's the chair of the Park District, and so she's been part of this too. So Avis, I just want to thank you publicly for the tireless efforts you have done on behalf of the City of Chicago and especially the children and youth. I give you Avis Lavelle.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Mayor Lightfoot, Melody, Hopson, Mary Ellen, Karen, for all that you've done with After School Matters, taking it way beyond what we ever could have thought it was going to be when we were in little tents in the middle of downtown Chicago. Mike Kelly, your leadership on the Park District, and everything that you have done to help make this become a reality, to people like Elsie and Comrade Worrell and Alderman Harris and Ms. Eshelman. This is so personally gratifying for me as somebody who was a part of After School Matters at the very beginning. Before it was After School Matters, it was Gallery 37. And also, oh, somebody's got a history over there. I was a high school athlete. I ran track and field at Chicago Public Schools in the hallways where we had to run on terrazzo floors and put up padding on the lockers so that you didn't hurt yourself. We never expected to have anything like this. And despite all those shortcomings, look at the incredible world-class athletes that came out of Chicago. People like Jesse Owens and Ralph Metcalf and Elsie and Conrad. I'm choked up about this because you think about all the kids who could have been here but didn't have the opportunity. So let me just say to you, this is a tremendous investment in our youth, a tremendous investment in the future of Chicago, made possible by so many people. And the one thing that I'm hoping is that the young people who get to come here will pay us back for that investment. And the way that you pay us back for that is by taking full advantage of every single thing that this amazing facility has to offer. Do it to its fullest. Take absolute advantage of everything that is available to you here and go on to be great like we know that you can be, because we believe in you, and that's why this facility is here. So thank you so much.
Wow. I can't believe it's today. And excuse me if I get a little emotional on the journey as we go through the journey, but today, the 8th Ward is grateful. We're grateful that everybody who invested in us and made this facility and brought this, someone said earlier, and I think it was you, Superintendent, this is a game changer. This will transform our South Side community. We are a single family bedroom community. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm almost 60. And I tell you that I ran down the halls of CVS High School on a terrazzo floor, and I can't tell you how many times I got bumped as I hit around that corner and ran into somebody, and I'm lucky I still have a head left on my shoulders. So this will help our community, it'll change our community, but I have to start off with the thank yous. I want to thank the mayor and First Lady Amy, who have been on this journey with me, who have committed to changing the lives of our children and changing the lives of communities through Invest Southwest. I can't say thank you enough. To Ms. Hopson, I can't say thank you because very early on, you pulled together a whole group of people to say, we're going to bring a South Side After School Matters program to the South Side. I just want to say thank you, because let me tell you, everything has a price tag. And this one, I said before, game changer. Mary Ellen and I kind of go back to my early days when she was running a city department, and she's been wonderful yesterday, today, and always. What a fabulous individual you are, Mary Ellen, and thank you. It's been my privilege to get here. The Chicago Park District under Mike Kelly and Avis, who have been my partners on this journey, and I've sat in a room with them for a very, very long time. Friends of Track and Field, thank you. I want to thank the community via the Gately Advisory Council under Joyce, where you at, Joyce? Joyce Chapman's leadership. Now, it's a young man that works with me, and he represents this part of the community. And when we were falling a little short in money, Representative Nick Smith got the state government to kick in the rest of that money. State Rep Nick Smith, thank you. And I'm leaving the best for last, because my story began some 10 years ago when Conrad, and anybody that knows Conrad, he knew how to kick your butt in a real special way, as only nobody else could. And he sat in the room, and he was a great lecturer, but he was an intellectual. Avid reader, avid educator, you name it, it was him. So all roads lead to Conrad. Conrad gets me in a room, and he's lecturing me and telling me and giving me the history of track and field, and you know, and you should know, but you don't read, and you don't look, and you don't research, and you don't do this, and he's really giving me the what for, and you got all these relationships, and you won't do anything. I said, okay, let's do something. So me, him, and Elsie are sitting in a room, and again, he's always the leader of the pack. In there, he kicking me and Elsie about all our friendships and our relationships. And so fast forward, we in the room and we're meeting with the mayor, and the mayor says, okay, and Conrad's still fussing. We're sending up smoke signals, me and Elsie are sending up smoke signals, you won, it's over, we got it. So today, because of Conrad's vision and the fact that for fighting for this for 30 years of fighting for this, we are finally here. So on behalf of the Chicago Park District, we're going to be renaming this facility after Conrad World. So I want to thank President Avis for that, and Superintendent Mike for that. A week before, not even quite a week, maybe like days before Conrad decided to go up in heaven. I hear you. He's up there, he's looking down, that's why the sun is shining so bright today. He says, we're having a big event at the field house. We're having a big event. He done called everybody, including Jesus. He done called everybody. You'll be at that field house. I said, you can't go to the field house, you sick. I'm going, and we're going, and we're having a big event out at that park, and I invited. Sure enough, the man that called everybody. It was all his daughters could do to reel him in, but somehow they got him here so he could see his track and field. So today, Conrad, you are the wind beneath my wings. You are here with us today, not in body, but the best thing about God is he gives you memory that you can't take away. So today, every time I walk through that door, every time I visit this park, I'll think of Conrad, but more than that, you will have something that represents what your dream was and your vision was for a community. Even when other people couldn't see it, he could see it. So today, again, on behalf of Conrad World, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Just take a minute and look at this beautiful facility. Look at it. It's wonderful, isn't it? I only wish that 50 years ago when I was running, I would have had a facility like this. And I'm sure that Conrad did. But I'd like to take a minute to thank Mary Lightfoot for all the support that she's given to this. You know, in track, starts are good, but finishes are better, especially when you finish first. And I'd say that this is a first-class finish for anyone. And thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Amy, I want to take a minute to thank Melody. She always gets on me because I'm always saying, Melody, without you, this wouldn't have happened. And she says, Elsie, it would have happened. But she is a wonderful, wonderful partner and a wonderful person. And truly a believer in the neighborhoods, the community, and the children of the city of Chicago. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Mike Kelly for all the phone calls he had to take from Conrad as we were trying to plan and build this thing. I mean, those were at all hours, all language. There was no, the color and the language was unbelievable. And for everyone that knows Conrad, they know the colorful language that he used. But I just say, you know, we're here, look at it. And this is going to be good for the children of the city of Chicago for years to come. After School Matters certainly partnered with the Park District to build a wonderful, wonderful facility here so that we could all enjoy, all the kids of Chicago could enjoy whatever activity they wanted to participate in. And after having said that, I'd just like to say I'm here today as a friend of Dr. Conrad Worrell's, whose vision for a world-class indoor track facility brings us together in this amazing building. I'm also a proud board member of After School Matters. It's a wonderful organization, and as has been said before, we have two other neighborhood facilities. This is the third, and this is, I'm telling you, just an outstanding facility. Conrad, as we all know, was a Renaissance man. He was an intellect, he was an activist, a student of leadership, and a sportsman. He also was a revolutionary. I mean, lots of people saw him in different ways as revolutionary, but he was a revolutionary, and he saw sports as a path to personal freedom. He realized that many young black men and women really got success because of their ability to be able to participate in track and field. He wore many hats. He was the director of the Carruthers Center for the Northeastern University, a longtime board member of the Black United Fund, and most importantly, for today, founder and organizer of Friends of Track and Field. That really is an outstanding organization. And, you know, Conrad used to always say, listen, basketball is great, baseball is great, but in track and field, you are looking at many, many different talents. So the talent pool that you draw from is much larger than the other sports. You can be a shot putter. You can be a broad jumper. You can be a sprinter. You can be a distance runner. All of these things, whatever you think your talents are and wherever you think your abilities are. A decade ago as a student in Hyde Park, I think that's where Conrad came up with this. He was a student athlete. Now, he wasn't the fastest guy on the track, you know. Well, I don't know if we should tell that story or not, but you know, over the years, he and I went back and forth as who was the best athlete, who was the best quarter miler, who was the best sprinter. So one day he was really on me. You know, Conrad can be intense, and he was really on me. And the guy was standing there, and I said, hey, you know what? He said, what? I said, you know how Conrad learned to spell Higginbottom? He said, how? I said, he read it off the back of my jersey. Conrad, that was the first time that I've ever seen Conrad without a word to say. So then what happens is, he and I, you know, he had a burning desire to build a track because when he was in high school, he ran in the hallways at Hyde Park High School, and he didn't think it was very good. And he would always say, well, that's one of the reasons that I can't beat you. When you grew up in the suburbs, you had a field house. When I grew up in the city, we had no field house. I said, yeah. But so he came to me and he says, listen, he says, you've done this and you've done that and you've done all these things. I want you to help me build a field house. I said, well, how can I do that? He says, I don't know. He says, but I need to build this field house. So he says, it's really going to do a lot for the kids of the communities, and it's really needed. And I don't want them not to run in the hallways any longer. So I said, well, Conrad, I said, well, if we're going to get that done, I think you're going to have to expand your friendship pool. I said, because you have a great group of friends. I said, but I think there's a little bit better one out there, and I think they would just be encouraged to hear what you have to say about track and field. So he says, what do you mean? What do you mean? I says, well, you know, you have to look at the 5th floor. You have to see who the elected rep. He says, I haven't been down on the 5th floor since Harold Washington was mayor. I said, well, Conrad, if you want to build that field house, you're going to have to change a little bit. So he said, well, we really need this for the kids. And so Alderman Harris has said that we had a meeting, and at that meeting, Conrad talked and talked and talked, and he's raved about how we need this field house, how we need this, how we need that. And the guy sitting there that we were meeting with was kind of shrinking in his chair because Conrad is real intense. And he said, okay, what can I do? So when he said that, Alderman Harris and I decided it's time for us to go because I think we've won. Conrad kept going. So he says, well, you have to talk to Mike Kelly. So, and I don't think Mike had met Conrad before. Quite an experience. Quite an experience. Right. All times of day and night, whenever he had an idea. Oh, the track has to be banked. See that wonderful bank turn out there? It has to be a world-class facility. It has to be second to none. And he went and found designers, architects, every place. So we said, well, you know, Conrad, this is great. Let us take 1 minute and, you know, just kind of relax a little bit and let's start to build a facility. Let's start to plan a facility. And Mike Kelly and the Park District, they did a terrific job of bringing this facility together. And so, Mike, I want to thank you. Mayor Lightfoot, I want to thank you for the finish. The finish, you know, you can anchor that. You can anchor that 4x4 relay. You win. There you go. And I think this is where it is. I just am overwhelmed by this wonderful, wonderful facility, and I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I am absolutely gratified that we were able to bring this track facility and the After School Matters programs together in one building out here at Gately Stadium. So I want to thank everyone that was involved here. I want you to know that if Conrad were here today, he passed away June 3rd a year ago. If he were here today, he probably would still say a few of his intense things that he might say. And he might say that you guys have done good, but you haven't done enough. You got to keep going. So thank you very much. No, he tell you to do it. Is that right?
One, two,
Wait. All right, just turn around the whole family, right? You got it?
all right. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, folks, give us one moment. We're going to do Q&A now. Can I have everyone please take your seats? We're going to do Q&A now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy's first.
Okay.
But it looks like you're in a distant land, so you may need to speak up a little bit. Go ahead, Amy.
Hi. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. One question about this facility. It's a beautiful facility. Lots, as you mentioned, basketball courts, volleyball courts. How soon can different groups in different high schools or junior high school groups be able to use this facility and other Chicago Park District facilities? Because there's a lot of empty gyms out there, and people have tried.
It's open now.
It's open
and
now.
It's
And people
actually
can-
been open. This is the kind of formal opening, but it's been open. And as I said, we are, and I'll let the Park District Superintendent Kelly really speak to it, but we are actively courting various events to come and take advantage of the facility. But it's open now. I don't know if you saw the kids that were here. These are, I think, some of the After School Matters kids, but there are other Park District kids that are using the facility. Mike.
I mean, the mayor covered it. The only thing I want to say again for the record is,
Mike, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Excuse
Can you hear me now?
Mr. Kelly,
can you hear
I
me?
can't hear you.
We never closed. The Park District never closed. And I owe a great deal of gratitude to all the hardworking men and women at the Chicago Park District. We always kept our doors open throughout the summer. This facility, I don't think it ever really closed. Obviously now we're still masking up, and that you have to do that in all our field houses per the state guidelines, but no, we're open for business. So please spread the word. This facility and all our facilities are open for business.
Okay. And Mayor Lightfoot, I wanted to ask you, you said earlier.
If I can just add one thing that I neglected in my formal remarks, I invite you all to come back on Saturday. We're having the fastest kid in Chicago finals that are here, starting early, going late, but we really want to showcase this facility to the city, and you know, sometimes it's a little intimidating when you walk into a new space like this, particularly if you're a kid. We want to open up the doors for young people all across the city, so come to the Race to Gately this coming Saturday. Go ahead, Amy.
You said that you spoke to victims and survivors from this past weekend's shootings, 104 shots, 17 dead. Are you at liberty to tell us who you spoke with, and was one of those people Max Lewis's mother and anyone from University of Chicago about safety measures, because he is the second student to be killed this year?
So I didn't say that I'd spoken to people over this week, although I have spoken to some. What I'm saying in general is I have, from the very beginning of my time as mayor, been out in communities and particularly made a point of talking to victims of violent crime. I have friends of mine who've lost their children. So this is an issue that's really important to me. If you remember the day that I announced, I had victims of violent crime who were there with me. This is very, very meaningful and personal to me. You can't bear witness to someone else's pain without taking that with you and feeling an urgency, a burning sense of urgency to do something to comfort and aid them. And as mayor, there's a lot of different tools that I have, which we are using, but I'm going to tell you, I think we have to do more, particularly when it comes to supporting victims and survivors. That responsibility has historically laid with the county, but there's more that we can do as a city, and I don't want to get ahead of our announcement, but we've been thinking about this for weeks now, about what more we can do, talking to victims and survivors, talking to their advocates, and I think there are some things that we can do right now to be more of a support to the victims and survivors, because so many of these parents who have lost their children feel like nobody hears them, feel like they are lost in the shuffle of the coverage. And I can't imagine losing your child and then feeling like your pain and your suffering isn't heard, isn't reflected. And we've got to do more as a city, and I take on that responsibility and that obligation to make sure that we are programmatically reaching out and providing more support to the victims, the survivors, and the witnesses, and we will do that.
Mayor, a couple questions. President Biden is visiting Crystal Lake tomorrow. Were you invited to that event? Will you go? Will you meet with the president? What's your ask of the federal government for help curbing gun violence? And also, Alderman Anthony Bill sent Governor Pritzker a letter asking for the National Guard to come in, secure downtown, to free up resources for the city, for the neighborhoods. What's your reaction to that?
So we've been through this before. There are some, unfortunately, in the city council that don't want to work collaboratively, that don't come and provide, come to the briefings, work with the police department, but do like to grandstand, and unfortunately you all like to cover it. But I don't think I need to say any more about that. Regarding President Biden, yes, I expect to meet with him tomorrow. I'm not going to Crystal Lake because I'm the mayor of Chicago, but I will see him tomorrow. And as for my ask, I've been making my ask since 2019. And luckily, we now have a president who listened. There are some things that the federal government, when it comes to violence, is uniquely qualified to do. Many of these things really have to lay at the local level, but the things that they're uniquely qualified to do, let me give you a short list. It's not the entire list. Number one, can we please pass common sense gun control measures? You've heard me say this before. It makes no sense that we have a no-fly list of people who are too dangerous to get on a plane, but yet they can purchase firearms. I don't know anybody who's got a functioning brain who thinks that makes sense. It doesn't. And the Congress needs to do its job and pass common sense gun control. We're not talking about intruding upon people's Second Amendment rights. We all have a respect for those. But in a city like Chicago or New York or LA or Boston or St. Louis or Atlanta or Washington, D.C., the list goes on and on. When we're seeing historic levels of violence, homicides and shootings up 20, 30, 40% in some instances, dear God, there's got to be a sense of urgency at the federal level. What more is it going to take? We've seen mass shootings all over the country. We've seen children slaughtered in schools, and yet we see people in Congress sitting on their hands and not doing anything to support residents in this country who are desperate for some solutions from the federal government. What I'll also say is that President Biden announced 2 weeks ago now a set of new policy initiatives that will have impact here in Chicago. For example, I've been talking about for some time, many of the guns that end up on the streets of Chicago are trafficked across state lines from states like Mississippi, traveling up I-65 and landing on the south side and the west side. What that means is we have to have a multi-jurisdictional federal solution. U.S. attorneys, ATF, FBI, and others need to join together, as the president has now announced, and one of those task force will be based here in Chicago. I want those resources today. I'm going to urge the president to make sure that the Department of Justice gets moving as fast as possible so we can bring those resources here. We have to hold gun traffickers accountable. We also have to hold, and this is another part of the president's plan, federally licensed gun dealers responsible. You can't tell me that people that are in the business of selling guns can't tell when somebody is coming into their store, shopping around, but yet the straw purchaser is the person who signs their name on the paperwork. The straw purchaser is the one who then takes possession of the guns. They don't take possession for long. Are they making the handoff in the parking lot or someplace else? I don't know. But what I do know is that we've got to hold these federally licensed gun dealers accountable, because they are responsible for these dangerous guns, weapons of war, being found on our streets. And let me just also say, I want to thank the hotel worker who spotted this individual from Iowa, who decided it was a good idea to come to our city with an arsenal, an AR-15, and 5 loaded magazines that he had perched up on the windowsill. Thank God for that hotel worker who saw something and said something, and I believe averted disaster.
Mayor, just to follow up on that real quick, if I could. This individual was just granted a $10,000 bond. Can you weigh in on that decision by the judges?
Look, I'm not happy about that. Unfortunately, because he was charged with mere possession illegally here in our city, the charges weren't of the type that he could have been held. But luckily, he was questioned by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. He's now on the radar screen of the FBI. And we have to make sure that this individual is somebody who's known to law enforcement, not only here in Chicago, but back in Iowa, where he came from. I've traveled to many states in my day. I didn't think to take an arsenal with me. This isn't a firearm for personal protection. What he had was weapons of war. 5 loaded magazines. That's not, I'm going to the big city and I want to take my weapon. That's something more nefarious. And luckily, because of the really quick work of the hotel worker, a tragedy was averted.
And Mayor, you talked about early on when you were speaking about the weekend violence, you said Chicago police doing everything possible to keep the city safe. But with 100 people shot and 18 killed, does the police department need to rethink its strategy? Apart from the other stuff that you've talked about, does CPD need to rethink its strategy?
Well, just so you know, and the superintendent talked a little bit about this on Friday, every single day they rethink their strategy. They look at the data, they see where the hot spots are, and whether or not their deployments are meeting what the data is showing them in terms of shootings and homicides. So that recalibration happens literally every single day. But we're fighting a losing battle when we are overwhelmed with the number of illegal firearms that are here in our city. CPD obviously has to do its part. the courts, the prosecutors, our federal partners, the community-based organizations, street outreach. It's an entire ecosystem that has to be working seamlessly together and operating at the highest possible levels, but we're all fighting a losing battle if the guns keep streaming over the border from the suburbs, from Indiana, and from the southern states. That's why the federal government is uniquely qualified to help us locally in this fight against violence.
Does that mean, ma'am, that you believe that the strategies were successful? And on that note, Alderman Lopez believes that they were a failure, and he is wondering why you don't ask the Superintendent Brown for his resignation.
Well, I don't think anything that comes out of Alderman Lopez's mouth is really worth my time or consideration. Are there other questions? That's it, thank you. All right, thanks everyone.